The curtain came down on this year's ABSA Off-Road Championship with the RFS Magalies 400 based once again at the sprawling Tarleton International Raceway Complex, midway between Krugersdorp and Magaliesburg on the West Rand.
Championship issues going all the way to the wire in both the production and special vehicle categories once again underlined the competitive nature of the ABSA series, which ranks among the toughest in the world. It was an event charged with potential for big drama.
To help ease the tension, motorcycle wizard Brian Capper was on hand to keep off-road enthusiasts entertained with his you-have-to-see-to-believe antics on a motorcycle. Capper is a world-class entertainer, with his array of trick-riding stunts keeping an appreciative audience constantly amazed and amused.
For more than 30 years, Tarleton International Raceway has been the spiritual home of South African drag racing. The complex, owned and operated by the legendary Mick van Rensburg, is a world-class facility. It's also home for muscle cars and motorcycle enthusiasts. With some of Tarleton's regular competitors on hand to show the off-roaders the ropes, the opportunity to indulge in a little fun on the drag strip was just too good to miss. A prize fund of R5,000 put up by RFS Managing Director Chris Deploy added a competitive edge to the proceedings.
Top fuel dragsters stopped the clocks at around 6 or 7 seconds for the quarter-mile dash. The off-road cars were not quite in that league, with the fastest time and R2,500 eventually going to Nardus and Louis Alberts, with the only sub-15-second run of the day in the Rapsabat.
Motorcycle trick shows and a little fun on the drag strip provided light-hearted diversions for the off-road fraternity, but could not completely erase an undercurrent of tension to the countdown for the RFS Magalies 400. With 7 crews in with a mathematical chance of winning the production vehicle title and a family battle raging in the special vehicle category, there was more important business to be taken care of. Retirement Fund Solutions is a financial services company with a strong motorsport sponsorship pedigree, and for Managing Director Chris Deploy, it was shaping up as an exciting weekend.
It's quite exciting. We expect to do well. I made a joke this morning. I said the only way to win it is to sponsor an event, but we'll see how it goes this weekend. We've got honours with the new V8 X3. We'll see how it goes, yes.
With just 10.5 points separating the first 6 crews in the Production Vehicle Championship, anything could happen, with reigning champions Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst part of the mix.
Yeah, it's interesting. The championship is wide open. 7 people, 7 cars, 7 drivers, teams actually that can still win it. So it's going to be interesting.
In the Baden Tyre Services Racing Camp, Thomas Rundle had his sights set on becoming the youngest driver to win the Production Vehicle Championship.
You know, what I've done is, it's 3 races for me this weekend. It's the prologue, lap 1 and lap 2. So we're not worrying about tomorrow, we're worrying about today. Try and see if we can get up front after the prologue, and then we take it again tomorrow.
Team Castrol Toyota were fresh from a test session in Namibia, with both factory cars given special dispensation to run in Dakar Rally specifications.
Well, as you can see from the vehicle, it has a shorter nose, which is obviously for dune driving. We've had a few niggles throughout the year, which we've fixed, and a lot of damper testing for the dune and rocky conditions. So all in all, ready for 2012.
In an exciting climax to the season, 7 crews had a mathematical chance of winning the Production Vehicle Championship, with defending champions Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst topping the points table in their Team Ford Ranger.
The draw by seeded crews for start positions on the Donaldson Prologue is generally a light-hearted affair, with teams hoping to avoid being drawn first on the road. Team Castrol star Anthony Taylor had a wry smile after pulling number 1 out of the hat. Taylor has a history of drawing first place, and it meant he and co-driver Chris Birkin would act as trailblazers for the crews starting behind them. Atlas Copco Toyota Hilux crew Gary Bertholdt and Andre Vermeulen drew second place, and Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst third, with the Donaldson Prologue results determining start positions for the race the next day.
The route for the Donaldson Prologue covered 60 kilometers that would give crews a taste of things to come during the next day's race. From Tarleton, the route headed west towards Sluis and Syferbult along the ridges of the Sluis Rankies. Competitors then returned to Tarleton with the route taking in Karel's Quarry. The Donaldson Prologue is a race within a race, with a good start position a major advantage in a field of more than 50 cars. Since joining the Premier SP class ranks midway through the season, Pikkie Labuschagne and Rikus Erasmus have been a revelation. The Wolmaransstad crew again opened a few eyes by coming home 15 seconds ahead of reigning champs Chris Visser and Jaapie Baardhorst in the factory Team Ford Ranger. Third fastest were Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin, who were a further 9 seconds adrift in the Castrol Toyota Team Hilux, with the V8 engine sounding glorious in the Northwest Province countryside.
The versatile Anthony Taylor was looking for a hat-trick of wins on the RFS Magalies 400 after winning in 2009 and 2010 with co-driver Robin Houghton. Taylor and Birkin had 13 seconds to spare on surprise championship contenders Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux in the international truck Toyota Hilux. The Northwest crew had only 2 seconds to spare over veterans Hannes Grobler and Henny Tristege, out for the first time in the RFS BMW X3, now fitted with a V8 petrol engine. After winning their opening event of the season, Grobler and Tristege fell on hard times, and a decision was taken to replace the diesel power unit with a petrol engine.
The Talton area is a rich and diverse farming region, with pastoral scenes disturbed by the sound of high-powered race cars. Championship contenders Terence Marsh and George Smallberger were only about 2 kilometers into the route when they managed to deposit the Regent Racing Nissan Navara right on its side.
A band of spectators was soon on hand to lend a helping hand to try and push the Nissan Navara back onto its wheels.
You okay, Benny?
There's a tow rope in the back box.
You guys okay?
Yeah, they're okay.
Somebody needs to get a tow rope for the next car to pull us over.
But it wasn't an easy job. The next car just happened to be Regent Racing teammates Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson, who weren't much interested in Marsh and Smallberger's predicament. The Northwest pair of Malcolm Koch and Johan Burger were also not interested in lending a helping hand, and it eventually took a concerted and well-orchestrated effort by spectators to get the Nissan Navara back on 4 wheels.
Let's go! Here we go! Water.
It's called cooperation.
The Baden racing pair of Thomas Rundle and former South African co-drivers champion Johan Moore was also part of the championship mix, with Rundle showing tremendous car control as the pair pushed hard for a good time. Rundle and Moore started the day lying 4th in the championship, 7 points behind the leaders. Their early impetus was halted by a puncture, which was to cost them time, with clutch and gearbox problems also adding to a frustrating prologue for the pair. There were no such problems for reigning champions Dion Venter and Ian Palmer, who led the Class D contingent in the 4x4 Megaworld Toyota Hilux. Free Staters Kobus van Tonder and Freddie Kriel came up with one of their best performances in the Unifreight Ford Ranger, and Louis Weichelt and Francis Boersma produced a solid performance to clinch a top 10 place in the N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruiser running in Class D.
Local farmers had inside information on where to find the best spectator points and were enjoying a break from their daily grind. There wasn't much to enjoy for Duncan Voss and Rob Howie in the second Team Castrol Toyota Hilux. Former South African champion Voss and Howie were another championship-chasing crew hit by an early puncture and finished just outside the top 10. Henny de Klerk in only his second off-road race and Keith Solomon were only 7 seconds behind the factory Toyota in the LA Sport entry, and there were also problems for Gary Bertolt and Andre Vermeulen in their Atlas Copco Toyota Hilux. Behind them, a steady performance took Australian resident Cliff Weichelt and Johan Smallberger into second place in Class D in the second of the N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruiser entries.
After winning 2 of the last 3 races, Dirk Putter and Koos Claessens were the formed team in Class E. Claessens had the co-driver title in the bag, and the pair were again on top of their game in the Zizwe Toyota Hilux to post a time around 2 minutes quicker than the 4x4 Megaworld Toyota Hilux of teenage crew Jason Venter and Vincent van Alleman. The youngsters have done a great job this season in their rookie year and had around a minute to spare over the more experienced Deirdre Hutting, who went into the race leading the Drivers' Championship, and Buck Cilliers in the Transcore Toyota Hilux.
Back at race headquarters at Taunton International Raceway, it was time for post-mortems, and hard-working technical crew were faced with problems of various proportions. For the lucky ones, it was a case of wash and polish and checking the oil and petrol. The not so lucky would burn the midnight oil.
Yeah, we went out, I must say this was quite nice. We caught up to Gary just like 2Ks. I said to Jaap, yes, I think we made a mistake, but didn't we take a shortcut? Yes, because we were on Gary's tail then. We were in his dust for about 20 Ks, and luckily then he moved over. So from there on it was quite nice, but I must say there's lots of rocks that's hide away in the grass and in the dust and all that. So I must say we must drive with the head in this race.
I must say, pulling number 1 this morning, I was a bit concerned, but we kept it nice and clean, didn't get any punches, and third, 30 seconds off Chris. It's going to be a good race tomorrow, that's for sure.
After we only started the motor like yesterday, I'm reasonably happy with what we've done today, and the temperatures on the car is very good. We'll push on probably a little bit harder tomorrow. It's for us a test, basically, this race. We didn't have time to test the car before the race, and it's our event, and we'd like to do well on it for RFS.
Well, we went out, let me tell you, the Bucky's game, Mark gave me a beautiful car. It went well, felt as if it was pulling like an SP, and out there it was my type of racing. I like fast races. It's just if you make a mistake, you've got big trouble.
On the special vehicle front, it was a case of 2 brothers and 2 cousins and a former champion fighting it out for the overall and Class A championships. Reigning champion Cully Silwald and his brother Herman were involved in a battle with Evan Hutchison in the fight for the driver's title, with the co-driver title a straight fight between cousins Quinton and Vichat Silwald. The Class P titles and the Class B co-drivers championships were also up for grabs in what had all the makings of a dramatic finish to the season.
Reigning champion Cully Silwald was under no illusions about the task that lay ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. We like to stay on top of our game, meaning that we'd like to not slow down. But then, you've got to consider it's the last one, so it's going to be difficult. But we will try and get a good prologue. See if we can't get away in the first 10, let's say, and then we'll take it from there.
Over at the Motorride pits, there was a little bit of tension creeping into proceedings, with Evan Hutchison well aware that what was needed was nothing short of a win.
A little bit nerve-wracking. I was thinking about it for long and hard last night. The thoughts go running through your mind, and I think it's a good thing we've come to the end of the year. It's the last race, and that the result is going to be determined. 2 of our championships I've won on the last event of the year, so we've got a chance. We had to try and take that chance.
Reigning champions Cully and Quinton Silwald held a points advantage going into the race, and 7th place would be enough to clinch back-to-back titles for the Palabora-based pair. The 5 top-seeded special vehicle crews also draw for start positions on the Donaldson Prologue, with David Whiteland standing co-driver Etienne Besaidnout drawing the number 1 position on the road. The Motorride-backed father and son crew of Nick and Ryan Harper drew the number 2 slot, with championship leaders Cully and Quinton Silwald 3rd car away in the elegant fuel bat.
The first skirmish in the final battle of the year was won by Evan Hutchison and Dani Stassen in their 4x4 Motorride Revo. Stassen missed an event earlier in the year, and that saw the Nelspruit car dealer fall out of the co-drivers championship race. With the 4x4 Motorride Revo well suited to the conditions, Hutchison and Stassen scored an early psychological victory. With a clean run and no punctures or mechanical issues, the Motorride pair eked out a 20-second advantage that saw them qualify in pole position for the race. Herman and Vichat Silwald rescued their championship chances with a solid 2nd place on the Himan Auto 400, and the Silwald Racing SVR crew were right where they wanted to be on the prologue. Behind the 2 special vehicle championship contenders, the father and son crew of Nick and Ryan Harper took 3rd place in the Motorride bat and were looking for a good result to round off what had been a disappointing season for the pair.
The KwaZulu-Natal pairing of Clint Gibson and Gary Campbell were a solid 4th in the Gibson Racing Porter and had 14 seconds to spare over Brett Parker and VZ van Sail, who went into the weekend coming off a solid result in the Sizanani Jimco on the Human Auto 400. Only 4 seconds behind the Jimco were the experienced Nardus Alberts and son Louis, who were making only their 3rd appearance of the season in the Rapsa Bat. In another tight situation, the Rapsa crew were just 3 seconds ahead of Johan van Staden and James Rousseau in the latest spec Bat running in Atlas Copco colours.
The husband and wife team of Marius and Jolinda Fourie were brimming with confidence after an overall win on the Human Auto 400, with the PHB Bat leading the Class P contingent. 2 wins in 3 races had brought the Fouries within sniffing distance of the Class P title, with the pair pulling out a 15-second gap over Gerard and Quibby du Plessis, who were making their first appearance of the season in the ex-Herman Sowalt Zarco Magnum. Class P Championship leaders Archie Rutherford and Mike Lawrenson were next up in the Regent Racing Jimco, with the pair 2 seconds behind the du Plessis and 7 seconds behind the Fouries. Behind them, brothers Keith and Andrew Macanetti set the Class B pace in a Zarco, with the pair edging out perennial rivals Kutsia and Sandra Labuskachny by 23 seconds, with the father and daughter pairing out in the Race Sonic Zarco.
Even little people have fun at off-road racing, and the special vehicle battle lines were drawn, with 4-wheel drive perhaps giving Evan Hutchison and Donnie Stassen a very slight edge.
It was a tight time trial and it was very loose underfoot, very dry, so a lot of dust and very, very loose. So the 4-wheel drive, not that it was tight, but that gave us the traction, so that worked in our favour.
I think it's a bit difficult for us with a heavier car in the softer terrain, tighter, and I believe that the rest of the loop will be more tighter than the Prologue. So it will be hard work tomorrow.